black and green, rally around the flag, rally around the red, black and green, rally around the rally red, go, black and green. Pray for the blood that flow down the river. So Marcus said, green for the land, Africa. Marcus said, yellow for the gold and national. So Marcus said, black for the people, divine. To cast away captivity, captivity. Quiet from us and song. Right now, as every repatriate, organizations and now I'm gone. Everyone, to God we are forgotten. To God we are ourselves. We get in our hearts is Mount Zion, and you know, see that lion of our hearts is lion, and you know, hey, how can in a strange don't wanna see a stranger, singing a stranger. Liberation, true democracy. Walk down my way. Walk past the riding on the flag, riding on the red.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Then and Now, a very, very special of the Then and Now, representing the Black History Month. Today, we want to talk about this particular month because it belongs to me and you, okay? You see, deliberately, the song we play is truly representational of the occasion itself we want to talk about. And if you look at the dress code as well, it's deliberate. That if you want to talk about history, and as a Black African, you therefore identify yourself with the cause. And as a mark of respect as well to the other one them where they accommodate we, you can see there's a mixture of both side and our side. But you can see a little bit of culture, you can see me band, and that represents the very color where the artist we talk about earlier on, which I don't know how many people, many of us. Yes, Kadida to Jalo, how you do me sister, they see you live. Sister Effie, they see you live. Brother Sori Mara, SS, the man will get me back, me folk I feel safe. Welcome to the program. Like I said, today we want to talk about Africa and Africans in the diaspora under a subject called Black History Month. So we go through the history. We get a few foreign friends with us. So therefore, you people will have to permit me flowing in between our locals, which is Creole, and then in English, so that we foreign guests will understand what we are talking about, although they've got an idea. I also a bit host, always talking as kind of a journalist, if you like, invest if you like, so I can get caught up in discussions and the rest of it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, far time much more spent. So therefore, I believe we really need to waiting we want to talk about today, which is the Black History Month, the history as you see it. Please don't hesitate for participate if you want to. It's absolutely necessary that we talk history ourselves, we define it ourselves. This is what we're going to talk about. So here, ladies and gentlemen. So begin with, the question is asked, what is Black History Month? Okay? In the United States of America and Canada, basically North America, the idea, the concept of this particular issue is being discussed this evening came from back in 1926. I will talk about it in a minute or two. It is celebrated in the month of February. Right in the United Kingdom, Ireland, I believe Netherlands, or call it Central Mainland Europe, it is celebrated in this particular month of October. Hence why we have this program today, because the channel in itself is based in the United Kingdom. A brief rundown is it began back in 1987. Yes, indeed, it started here in 1987, and the objective behind the starting of the observe or the celebration, if you like, of this particular month of October here in the UK and Ireland, and probably other places in mainland Europe or mainland Europe, is to educate, to form the entire African Caribbean. This is critical. To inform the entire African and Caribbean population, and also for inform others who were not black, largely white people, as to what our history is. That was the concept. It does not really imply that's what really happened, but that was the concept, that was the objective behind the foundation. In the US, where this observation started many years before the United Kingdom and the rest of mainland Europe, okay, it used to be celebrated as a Negro history. Remember, we black people in the diaspora were called Negroes, and up to this day we are Negroes, coming from the straight Negroid, okay, edited by a man, a black person in the United States, and this man was called Carter G. Woodson. And that goes all the way in 1926. Remember, it started as a week-long celebration, the achievements, the struggles of the black race in the diaspora. Okay? It later on evolved, come a month-long celebration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will say because of the colonization, the enslavement, the dislocation of black people, we suffer what no other race ever suffered or suffered in the history of mankind. I repeat, and listen to this. Because African people, the colonization, the enslavement, dislocation of black people, and we suffer like no other race on the face of this earth. And you could quote many authors on what I'm saying. It's authenticated, it's historical, it's out there, it's been peer-reviewed, it's out there. And these are things that, but I'm speaking directly from an author who I've read. Have you heard of Harold Cruz, ladies and gentlemen? And you will need to read his narratives about African people in the diaspora. Okay? He called what we were suffering then as the Negro, or the crisis of the Negro intellectual. Crisis of Negro intellectual. So the Negroes were intellectual. They could tell stories, but the stories were not interpreted in their own mold. Because we will go into this broadcast this evening, our story, black people in the diaspora story, in short, the history of the black race story. Imagine our history being told in the mold of others and not us, and this story is distorted. And today, like I said in the headline, we will take you through of the history. In other words, the history of black history. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take my time to welcome a few of our guests. Okay? Of course, BDK, welcome to the program. Abdul Zito, and of course, I've spoken to Sister Kadia Tijalo, and I think Sister Jacqueline Pearson. It's the first time I welcome you the then and now way. Okay? But like I was saying, the history was never interpreted in our own. Instead, it was being done by others. And this history, which was being dished out to the rest of the world about us through the prism of others, largely distorted, if not altogether distorted, because of reasons we will talk about later in this program. But the bottom of why it was distorted was to prevent the truth from coming out about Black people's struggle in the diaspora. Because obviously, when the truth shall be told, or if the truth was told, okay, it will be inconvenient for the history of the others who were telling this. So there was a clear objective on why this history of another people had to be there, as was told by another people. Anyway, in the United Kingdom, we've seen that this event is marked by lessons and events around the country. That's in the United Kingdom. It's almost laughable that it's celebrated and marked in schools. Have you ever cared to ask your kids what is being told regarding their ancestors and the rest of it? Have you ever? Just this, I was driving back home with my 15-year-old daughter, and she's got a history test coming on tomorrow, Monday. It was interesting that I was going to Black History Month, and she's doing Black History, and she's doing a test tomorrow. And I've just asked her, so what have you been doing in Black History Month? In other words, have you been told? Well, of course, it wasn't strange because this is something that I've read deeply about. So I was told by my 13-year-old that she's been told, or they're being told in class, about our history. That goes back to slavery. So beyond slavery, nothing really exists. Or even if they were to dare to go there, all you will hear is about the white man's burden. I don't know how it became the white man's burden, but if you go beyond slavery, that's what you will hear. The Dark Continent. I don't know how it was when they came to shine light, but anyway, it's being told like it started off slavery. And that's not a palatable side of story. It's difficult, here to get over that. It's shocking, being told, and it's being carefully calibrated to fit in from the narrative of the others who are telling it. That even the shocking parts of this particular point of history, the end, they come in and being the savior of crimes that they perpetuated in the first place. Very interesting, the irony of this all. So this is what she is being told. If it's not about slavery, then it's about Nelson Mandela. And if it's not about Nelson Mandela, of course, there is a conjoin, because it's about South African apartheid. So therefore, we have Mandela, how Mandela rescued the nation. But how did he rescue the nation? The people who perpetuated, oppressive, attacked, brutalized our people appear to be the ones again to come to our rescue. You are away from the reality, isn't it? But this is it. So in the United States, is the same thing about slavery. And the slavery, then maybe you will hear about Rosa Parks and the civil rights and Martin Luther King and the rest of it. Is this really our history is? That in the 20th century, hundreds of years after, our history is still being told by others in the same mode. Is it about time that we begin to stand up and question the way it is being told? But we'll come to that in a minute. But what about an increasing number of Black people, Black intellect, Black professionals from all walks of life, all backgrounds of discipline are becoming increasingly comfortable, even the young people, that this narrative of our history affects badly. Do you know some of the reasons why our young children do have a problem in growing up? Others are privileged to hear a story historically that goes back 1,000 years, very decent. But we are not allowed to reality or tell the reality of our history, and it's been distorted and obscured. And therefore it's got a direct effect on the minds of our young people. Hence some of the social problems we can actually see. But I was saying that an increasing number of lecturers from all backgrounds, especially from community, here and across the Atlantic, back in the motherland, are beginning to raise their voice or voices. I listen to the Ghanaian president and the Ghanaian nation that have been leading, which does not come as a surprise, because Ghana back in the 1950s and 60s, shortly after independence, championed the cause of African liberation. Remember the name Kwame Osagyefo Nkrumah, that late Pan-Africanist, because the history has evolved over the many years since 1920s, when Mr. Woodson was able to initiate the movement from a Negro Week to a monthly. But should our history be celebrated, or rich history as it is, be celebrated only in a month? Others, the history of others is celebrated throughout it. What is wrong with ours? Ladies and gentlemen, lines are open if you wish to make a contribution, and I'm expecting people to make contributions in chat room or pick up the phone line, and make sure to call so we can have a discussion on this. There is no need for other people to be telling our history the way they tell it, which is suitable and convenient for them. We should be telling it ourselves. And it should be, like in for example, there is a handful, just a handful, the number, if you look at the proportion between the number of black in the United Kingdom and the number of intellectuals or black historians, if you like, is disproportionate. And why? You ask the reason why, and when you do you find out exactly why. And this cannot continue as it is, but until together as a people, because again, while we raise these issues, there are so many complaints of division, because a house divided cannot stand. You see, one common denominator for us is when it comes to the diaspora, the black diaspora, there will be any question, especially between we and them, between us and others. Because if others can close ranks just to make sure that they defend their rights, perceived or real, their grounds, their heritage, if they have one, then why shouldn't we attempt to reach with culture, reach with Galia, reach with relics, which are decided to dawn today? And some of us, let's move to power, let's talk about reality. Some of us cannot even afford, not in terms of financial, but to dawn gaps. There was a time when we were people standing up tall and high, just like the Madinka people, from which one of the richest black ever on the face of this earth, the emperor or the king of the Songhai Empire, Mansa, lived, where he walked, where he trod, where he ruled. The Madinka people. But today, some of us appear as a broken people. Sadly, I must add, because of the narrative of our history as it's being told by others. This can't be right, and that's having an effect. You don't feel the male energies around, because most of the males are in jail, okay, in the system. To be honest, it's sort of questionable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a month of all months. This is a period of all periods when black people should be discussing their history themselves, not by others. It has become like a byword, like a cliche, if you like, in which the celebration is about making speeches and having food and drink on a matter is as serious, which is threatening to a nation, a people, a race, a country, and we sort of just waver over it, just like that. It will really be happening. It's about time we galvanize, we find some depth, deep inside of us, and rise up to the many, many challenges that face us as a people, especially diaspora. But as we twin the diaspora with continent, as is being led by Ghana, it's important that we join in this fight. As you, ladies and gentlemen, the Ghanaian people have once again shown their generosity to it, who's extended. Again, it's not new. The government of Ghana has extended an arm of, has opened up the Ghanaian nation to the black diaspora, that those who want to return have got a place in Ghana. So relax the difficulties around getting visas to either visit, because before then they went but had a bit of a complexity around it, was a bit difficult, but now it's open and less visa rules around going to Ghana for the black diasporans. It's now relaxed and people can now go to Ghana and stay in Ghana. You can acquire land in Ghana. And Ghana is one of the showcases of an Africa that is rising. Do not get caught out. Do not get behind, ladies and gentlemen. This fight should be all of us together. It should be all people. It should be us defining it, not any others. We were talking about how here the celebration or observation of the Black History Month is marked in many publications. The Black historian author in the United States, the late Dr. Henry Clark, ladies and gentlemen, advised, in order for us to keep cognizant of realities of the black diaspora, let's get the works of Dr. Clark. Some of them are in hard copy, some of them are electronic copy. Hundreds of his videos on social media, on YouTube in particular, is worth listening to. Quite educative. It might just change your mind, your perception on the approach. You will realize that this fight is not new, it's not now, it's back then. But the question is, what are we doing now? They fight, they paved the way for us to be where we are, get what we have, although we're still asking for more. Of course, we've done much. Of course, we've come up. But of course, we've still got a long more way to go. How do we get there? How do we really get there, ladies and gentlemen? Except we close round. So I'm referring you to Dr. Henry Clark, and I was trying to refer to one of the things that Dr. Henry Clark asked us to do in terms of the celebration of Black History Month. Okay? He said that celebration should represent the culmination of a systematic study. Ladies and gentlemen, you caught the keyword in this thing, the systematic study of Black. I'm quoting Henry Clark. The culmination of a systematic study, this is what this celebration, stroke observation of this so-called Black History Month, so-called because we've come a long way to still be celebrating history, which is so central and critical to one of the definitive society continent in the history of the world, on the face of this earth, just by a month. That is laughable, this is honorable, and this is just a fact. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. So Dr. Henry Clark says it should culminate into the systematic study of Blackhood. So instead of just apportioning a month in an entire year, a life of 12 months, the stories of others, the history of others is being told within that 2 months period. Ours is just being told in a month. One of the greatest continents on Mother Earth, in which, if it had not been disturbed in terms of people being plucked out because of slavery to serve others, to help develop others, to help build others, it would have been completely different as it is now. It's convenient for other people to point a finger of blame to a continent whose earth, whose heartbeat was ripped apart for over 300 to 400 years, when men, women, and children, not the old, not the sick, not the lame, not the leopard, taken away from a continent, and only those who were disabled, who physically really do nothing, were left. And then today we dare to ask the question, why is the continent left behind? If you as a black person ask a question of that within that context, there's shame on you. You need to understand the depth of history. I have heard other people, conveniently say that black people were complicit of their fellow black people. I will agree to that, yes. But how many of them were? Do you want to talk about that, or do you talk about the person who provided the wherewithal, who came and tricked people, who coerced others, because it's not like others did it intentionally. Some were bribed, and in law, there is something about an accomplice. There is something about company. There is something about you creating the ground to make it fertile for something to happen. So how dare you point fingers to people who participated less, more or so, and then you don't have the audacity or the guts of finger to point at those who perpetuated the crime for reasons. When they left their shores and came and pretended to be missionaries, no, they were not. Have you heard the statement from the late Jomo Kenyatta, the founding father of Africa? Ladies and gentlemen, for you who don't know this, we need to revisit the forefathers of this great country. Jomo Kenyatta is known to have said that when the white missionaries came up, they had the Bible in one hand and they had that in another. But at the front, which was being exhibited, was the Bible, and at the back, which was hidden, was the devil. So there was a choice to make there. So if you did not accept the Bible, which was strange to all our cultures, then of course you will be coerced. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see what this means for those who want to say people were participants? Yes, but at which cost and why? I haven't asked that question as at yet. We are convenient enough to excuse those who mastered the plan as those who were complicit for potential reasons of being coerced, threatened, being killed, being brutalized, being as for sin laid waste in the land. It's about to have a different concept towards the approach of what happened hundreds of years ago. Yes, we must be forgiving, and I believe we are forgiven, but we must never forget. We must never forget. A time has come when we need to close ranks, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about what happened to us in the diaspora, how we were taken from our land. Have some of us seen history? That the vast majority of our people, they put up strong resistance, they fought and died. Mother Earth bled with them, soiled with their blood, because they could not afford to be taken by force by another people who did not look like them, who were taken to a place that they did not know. Where is that spirit of Kunta Kinte? Remember that, but today we don't want to talk about that. It's convenient for us to blame ourselves. And one of these is economics. That's why it's important that we understand our economics and practice economics. For our people, Osagyefo said this over 50 years, that Africa cannot truly be rated except there is economic emancipation. And the forefathers, the forebearers, all talk about this. W.E.B. Du Bois, the great intellectual, diaspora, the United States, who migrated to Ghana back in the 1940s, I believe, and died in Ghana, made a home. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the late Malcolm X, the late Luther King, and I could go on and on and on and on. People who, for us to find ourselves where we are. How dare you don't have the courage and strength to talk about forebearers? That without them, what most of us or some of us could afford to do today, including me where I sit today, was absolutely not possible. I say to those who led the struggle, who made their demise, by one way or the other, may their souls rest in perfect and peace. But today we are here to our Black History Month. And if we are distracted, if we are scattered as a people, then we continue to want. And once we cannot come together as a people, it becomes difficult for us. There's a backlash. And that tells on our culture, on our society, on us as a family. So what we are doing is effectively in how to practice individualism, which is not us. Go back to the history. Go back to the communism. Go back to what communal is, which is Africans. We live communally. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Live communally. What we have, we shared. And today, some of these tendencies are still back home. If you've got food, you have pan, you put it in a tub, you share, you call everybody and we dip our hands in there. It's a feeling of community. It's a feeling of kinsmanship. It's a feeling of bondship. But we allowed to be distracted. We did not listen to the late writers of our time, not very long ago. Chinua Achebe, that great African writer, playwright, turning in the widening light. The falcon cannot bear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Tell me, what is the center that is holding now? But behold, we were forewarned. Just imagine, those of you who went back to school then, read, things fall apart. If you don't have a copy, go online today and get a copy and read it. We were told we'll forego everything because how can a people names to be changed? How comfortable could you be that somebody just sprinkle over you and tell you from today, your name is no longer Tamba, your name is... Do you know what John is? Do you know who John is? From today, you name not Sampa any longer. Your name is Susan. Do you see the social engineering? It was being craftily manipulative up to the point where we are, and it's far gone. But it doesn't mean that we cannot reverse it. Oh yes, we can. The question that we asked is, has the time arrived, ladies and gentlemen, for us to update? Because remember, some things get obsolete. Nothing remains constant as change itself. So there's nothing wrong in updating the ideas of the Black Negro Week. The late Woodson, who was also an author. So is it time that we stop just tinkering about names? That when we talk about tree, we're going to have to talk about Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. And Rosa Parks, who was defiant and sat on a bus. And he said, enough, I'm not going to get up for any person. I'm going to sit down here, I'm a human being too. That was there, that was powerfully done. Did shape and shake or shook history. But do we in that, or do we make progress to move forward? That was in the 60s at the height of the civil rights movement. A lot has evolved. A lot has metamorphosed into something else. Although we play catch up, but we need to close the ranks. Afford the distance, or somebody is going to get there long before we can afford for them to get there before us, understanding the dynamics. But you don't give them time to reach there long before us and find a briefing space. So by the time we get there, while we are still debriefing, they are already making headways, which is the exact situation we find ourselves today. Ladies and gentlemen, what's your thought? Do you really think that we should now move on here from what was being taught then as to what is going on now and how we should calibrate our future? Do you think it's an absolute necessity? Do you think that moving away from name calling, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, who is seldomly mentioned, and the rest of them, Nelson Mandela from South Africa, may all of them souls rest in peace. Do you think we should move away from there? Like one black scholar called it, liberation. Because, mind you, the name has changed for a number of years. From black history to Pan-African to African liberation, or the liberation, black liberation theology, as was taught in the church. Topic for another day. And that was critical as well. Because people were going through the path of change. Not necessarily convenient. So as they were going adjusting, because different people were seeing it differently. I'll say more or less now we celebrate individuality, which suits the other who tells our story or stories, as opposed to ourselves. So when one black person is successful, we celebrate that person. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't, but we do in a negative way until it is done collectively. Because you as an individual, how far can you really go? But as a group, of course, we can make headways. As a group, then we can practice group economics in our community. That our monies that we work for, be it on the outside, can serve us well in our communities. That's why it's necessary for us to come together as a group, as a community, with the community. We are split, we are divided, in which we celebrate successful individual black people who take the same money that they make and pay into these banks, which are used against us. You see what I'm saying? These monies are used and given to entities led by others other than us for development projects, which prize us out of our neighborhoods and send us into ghettos. It's an age tactic. It's been refined, but it is in practice today, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be shocked. Regeneration. You need to go back to the history of all of this. That's why in the topic we said that we are going to talk about the history of a people who were taken from a continent through something called the Middle Passage, that's between home and the Atlantic. But today, again, instead of raising the efforts of our people who made efforts, the idols, the Underground Railroad that was used to smuggle slaves that were deprived of learning. You could not learn ABCD, you could not learn to read and write for reasons. I think that does not have an effect today. Yes, it does. Don't you say these people have been given a chance and you're forgetting about institutional. I will leave the rest for you to define it. That our struggle is very, very much visible. It's very, very much. So we say, let's talk about the struggle, people. But we should tweet with the achievements as well. Remember historical times. Sometimes when I get this talk all the time with my friends, it's like we were never achievers. That's what we're made to believe. We were good for nothings. We work 24/7 without pay. Here today we are being castigated as lazy. Imagine that. Do you think that can be real? See, no, it's not. It's a calculated thought. Always throw it at them. Always throw it at them. So let's talk about as a people, but then we talk the entire race as achievements, as things are beginning to happen now. There was a lady who helped in taking people to space. She was very much part and parcel of it. But for decades, it was never mentioned. And that was critical. We're talking about the sciences, taking from Earth, define gravity, and taking people somewhere up there. And a black person was involved, but was mentioned decades later, until recently a movie came out that talked about Hidden Figures. I think that's the title of the movie, Figures. And that almost looked like they wanted to clown the successful story told by Tariq, a historian. I've forgotten his last name. Ladies and gentlemen, also try to get off hidden colors. Hidden colors is very important. 1 to 5, I think they've got 6 now, but 1 to 5. It's important for us to understand about it as it's being told by us. Colors, I will put it at the end of the show so that you can see it. So let's talk about our achievements, okay? Basically that we do so. So what was Black history then? Okay? We say, or we think, from research, that if they talk about it in a different way, as we from the beginning, that here in the UK, it's been discussed as an event. Remember the story that I mentioned about my 13-year-old? The reality of the show is spoken of as such. Then it's going to expose some really, really convenient issues. So therefore, it is diluted. It is really, really diluted. And we need to understand such. Okay? We say there's a little difference the way it is taught here than in America. America is wide. Yeah, it's more powerfully said because there's more, they don't lose, your narrative and more historians, Black historians, and therefore the history is in churches, it's in universities and colleges and in schools, as opposed to Britain, where, let's face it, sounds like mere tokenism, token history of a people. So we know if the truth is told, they will expose the atrocities committed on people of color, if you like. I seldomly use those kind of languages because if they were people, somehow, but we know again that was used because of reasons that we know. Okay. The national curriculum in the United Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen, I'm laying emphasis on Britain because this is where I live, okay, does not really reflect the diversity of the Black historical experience. It's fact, it's well documented. So it's not something that I'm making up myself, okay? So even though there have been a Black print, when you check historical Britain has got clearly in it that there were Black people here. Imagine this during Roman times. But when you look at the one that's been taught in schools, it's not really there. And you ask yourself, what is it? Why are some parts of history of another people for another people is good? Okay? What we do have in Britain, I've noticed, is the few historians, very few historians, they are only in communities. And which communities are they? The few dotted Black communities. So they can't even the capacity of these communities because they are very few. And this is a disgrace. It's really a disgrace. So every paragraph that we deal with coming towards the end of this program does ask you again, why is Britain behind such a project? Which project am I talking about? The project of not disclosing fully the history of another people. Why is it in schools? Britain got a large, historically vibrant Black community. Why is the Black history is not being taught in schools? Why is it history is distorted? Why is it that only token history is thrown at us? What is our full history? Okay, we are not asking someone to tell it for us. We want to tell it ourselves. But since you are the institution, please give us permission and create access for us so that we can use the power dynamics to tell our story across the nation, across the kingdom. Okay? It's absolutely a necessity. Why is it, we ask, that one set of children can get, I think I asked this question from the beginning, can get to learn untainted, undiluted. But ours is kind of diluted, it's kind of restricted, if you like. Children don't get to hear about their great ancestors, about history beyond slavery. And even if they do, it's so terrible. I mean, this shocks young people from even picking up an interest in research has shown that young black people are shocked out of learning the history because it's not being told in the right way. And it's being told in a distorted fashion, in an obscured fashion. And this does not encourage black kids to go for their history. And this is documented as well. What is told is not compatible with the reality. And this is Black History Month has now been rebranded, which is not strange. If you've been following the trend, it's been branded. Yes, it's been branded by the authorities, yeah? And when I say the authorities, that's why I asked earlier on, tell our own story for ourselves, stop telling it for us, but provide us access to the institutions. And this is what I call the power dynamics. This is where it really plays out. Just give us access to this institute and provide us with the logistics, the power, the dynamics, us to tell the story in our own mode. But instead, it's not been done. There's very authorities that I spoke of earlier. This is the local councils. They are saying, because of austerity, remember we've had austerity in this country something like 10 years now, since the Tories came into governance, for 10 years. And austerity, an economic choice, by the way, is a political choice. But yet we have been made to understand that it's some kind of an economic choice and we for it. But 10 years on, it doesn't seem to be working. And the Prime Minister, Theresa May, has intimated going to, I think they're going to take austerity away. And pretty soon it's going to be a landmark, taking off this to seeing more people into poverty, more homeless people, okay? And this meant, you have to look after its people who are left behind. It's supposed to be a fairer society, as articulated by the former peer. What's his name? The one before Theresa. I forget, David Cameron, okay? So it's becoming more difficult. More people are left homeless. More people are sleeping homeless, sleeping rough. So most likely the country goes through a tumultuous period in the political history once again as a consequence. Okay, there are people making comments. Keep the comments coming. Yes, please keep the comments coming. So as the country goes through this tumultuous period of political history, consequence of Brexit, okay, more people are getting caught up. But we are hearing some good things. Austerity will be redundant soon, and probably the government might change hands. We don't know whether it's going to be a Labour government or Jeremy Corbyn government, which might be, a more pro-poor, if you like, also a conservative, which is more fiscally disciplined, which I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Government should look after its people. So what the authorities have done is they've rebranded the term or the idea, the concept of Black History. They are now calling it Multicultural History Month, Diversity History Month. Ladies and gentlemen, this is unacceptable. This is deeply offensive to the mind check of or mindset of Black people. Why is it? These are different things. Diversity is different. They can walk along. So you are not saying that all of us are equal. All of us, the same was meted out to all of us, or our histories are now the same. This is what basically it says. And that's a lot. What I've been speaking to. But look into this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's ours and nobody else's. That's why we need to come together as a people. How dare you call it Multicultural History Month? Every one of us. This can be, and we should take this to the government. No, this is not right. We want a month. If it's going to give us a month like we've been doing in the past, although we want more, we want it being told for the entire one. We wanted to be totally used. What they're now doing is diluting the facts. Because when you begin to tell or mix the history of another people, it gets diluted. You miss the core of the message. And this is deliberate. All along in history, this is what is being done. This is an action that majority of black people find deep offensive. It has suddenly descended, the black history, the history of a black is now descended to the issue of money saving, thereby abandoning the underlying objective. I find it offensive and deeply unacceptable. It has also become inclusive of other communities, even though the case of the African diaspora is completely different, as we all know. This is what the observance is all about. Why is keeping their occasions, their celebrations, their observations, their cultures, the Jewish people? No one ever bothers. No one ever touches. It's like a no. For hours all along in history, it's been tampered with, interpreted for us. It's been defined by others for us. Why is it? I ask the question. Why is it? This must stop. To stop, it means that we need to come together and present a statement in a peaceful fashion and tell the government it's not possible. Let's use our votes. Let's go to our communities. Let's go to our MPs. We need to organize ourselves. That is it. This is the way the others do. They organize themselves and put position statements. We need to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, this is critical to the history and the future of our people. We must make known what is not good for our communities, but we have to do it ourselves. Let's use the leverages that we've got. Voting, perhaps, but we must come together and diverse. Look at your community where you live. Look at your borough where you live. Check the register. See how many of your kind are there. Knock on doors. Use the telephone exchange. Bring people together. Bring the communities. Have town hall meetings. And let's begin to actively discuss this. I think we'll be taken seriously. And take those delegations, those people who will have galvanized. Let us become leaders. Let our young people take up this challenge and be educated in terms of what we're talking about. Take these delegations to our representatives, the MP, and let them know that this is unacceptable because it's deeply offensive to us. Others are keeping the occasions, but what's wrong with the African diaspora? I was reading a story one of the founders or the founder of an organization called the Black Ballad, a decent, a brilliant lady, of course, black lady of Nigerian descent, Toby Omidane, I'll pronounce her name correctly. She managed to put this very succinctly. She said, okay, and I quote, she said, and I quote, if we are going to have Black History Month, then clarity that there is Black History Month. Inputting other cultures into our Black history essentially dilutes our history, essentially is saying to everybody that everybody has 1 month together and all the same. Our experiences are all the same, and this is unacceptable. Unquote. This is fact. This is not acceptable. Thanks to well said. If we are going to have our month, let's have it. Because other than nothing, if it's a month that you let's have it. But if we are having it, it should be ours, others. Okay? So another impression that they try to give black people in this country is the black history in this country started back in 1998, and you're going to have to associate that with the recent disgrace of the Empire Windrush generation. Remember or does the NHS strike a bell? Because they are synonymous. the Empire Wind Generation, that's a boat which brought people here to work, and then the NHS, and then on campaigns, so forth and so on. Okay? So there's an active to change the school's curriculum, and we should try to enforce that. We have to make ourselves visible. In a peaceful fashion, we organize ourselves and position our statements. Okay? For this, and as we talk about it, the school curriculum being asked to go through changes, the resistance is stiff. The authorities are resisting this. If it's an honorable thing to do, which I think it is, why shouldn't they? Because what is being told about us, even though we are part of the history, is distorted and obscure. This must simply stop. And we can begin doing this again, the school curriculum, changing it and telling the young minds. You see the disconnect? How people get confused? The young minds are not being told the facts, and what is being to them is obscure. And this is wrong. It's creating a social kind of problem. There are reports out there, there are research being done. So most of it is just being covered. Okay? This has not been told the truth. Not here, much more about the continent. Okay? The four bearers will have heard from. And when it is told, well, of course, it's the body of man which is being told. It's the dark continent. It just makes you, let's keep it 100. Let's see as it is. When you are told what they are told, it makes you not to even associate with the continent. Not even want to associate with others who don't speak. They look like you, speak like you, because you exist or you exist within this space. So your intonation, your pronunciations have become different because you speak as people from. And even though other people look like you because they come from the other, you are embarrassed to associate yourself with them. And this has come up as a matter of group economics, which we don't practice, which is we try to manage our money in our communities, just like the Jewish people do. Our money should circulate in our community for as long as it can before it goes to the bank. It should serve us well. We need to organize things. The money that we work for should not be serving, building other communities, while our is being destroyed simply because of the land. And that's what happens because other people are responsible for our livelihood. They create the jobs, the private enterprises of others, other than us, that creates the jobs, that pay us. They pay us. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. And I'm not saying don't go to work, but imagine if we create our jobs, our own entities, employ our own people, tell our own history. This empowers us, and this is what this channel aspires to do. According to a Professor Hakim Adi, okay? Professor Hakim Adi, and I quote him, quote, the reason why these things are not taught is we live in a society which doesn't want us to recognize the true nature of British history, whether it's people of Africa or Indian origin, wherever, with regard to Britain's history in general, in relationship to the empire, to the enslaved and trafficking of black people, in relation to the crimes that have been committed. You can say there is conspiracy to hide the history. And that conspiracy is to keep people uninformed, but when you are informed, you just end up being confused. As Professor Hakim Adi, he's spoken and written a lot on the subject matter. Please, ladies and gentlemen, look up for books or workshops from this man. He is very, very accommodating. He's a brilliant author. Please look for his publications. Okay? So that's it. You are either not informed, or when you are informed, you are either left confused or either. So you only, because the way you concluded this, after creating the premise, you can only say that fairly so, the circumstances point to only one thing, that there is a conspiracy to hide the. And he goes on to say, you know, to back up his statement, You need to go back to a statement made many years ago by one of the Tories' strong men, Michael Gove, under the administration of former Prime Minister David Cameron. Michael Gove was then the Minister of Education. He said the history, he was asked a question to people's history, Black history, Asian history, and the rest of it. And as for education, while people were trying to press into the curriculum being reformed, he said, no. He said, in his eyes, history, and I'm quoting him, history should focus on great white men and property. Looking into this, ladies and gentlemen, you can draw the conclusion for yourself on what government policy, on what the authorities' policies are, okay? There's a school of thoughts who wants Black History Month to be updated. It's a fair shake. I talked about this earlier. In the month of October, while we celebrate Black history, ladies and gentlemen, Black people, speak to you directly. I'm speaking to you directly. We have to redouble our effort to fight against neocolonialism. When we talk about these words, which strikes a bell to a lot of, in this day and age, we're not talking about the historic colonialism. We're talking about what Kwame Nkrumah talked about over 4 years ago. Neocolonialism, that's the new of colonialism. And this involves the Chinese. The Chinese, of them last week. We need to be wary of the laws. Other than that, we are in the continent all over to them and making the same things as we did. In this case, differently, because we've been persuaded, we've been given peanuts while gold and diamond is being taken. As to then, when we were forced, when we were coerced into what we find ourselves in. This time it's being done in a sleek fashion, and the continent is being taken once again. The United States alone holds over 350 drills in Africa every year. Imagine this, 350 drills coming under the guise of helping the continent. In what? You know exactly what our problem is. Bring the technology, show us the technology, treat us as partners. Let us form a partnership. What's the military about? We all know which direction it's going. The Chinese are moving their military into Africa as well, and we know what this is. It's the capture of the continent, ladies and gentlemen. And that process is going on now. The sister state of the Zambia is under duress, taking loans that it cannot afford to pay back. And when you cannot pay back, one of the contracts which probably you don't even read well. So talking about the emancipation of the continent in the 21st century, we are re-observing what we went through all over again. And this is where I comment, because Ghana is taking steps to wean itself from this rubbish, this malaise. Ghana is talking about we don't anymore. Ghana is really growing up. Let's follow the examples of Ghana, for that will benefit the continent. Corporations, entities, organizations which actually belong to the government of the year are being reported, being seized, being taken over, because these were contractual agreements between them and the Chinese. These pay back these loans, they defaulted, so therefore they have to give up critical structures in their structure, in their governmental structure. This is unacceptable. How can we be going back in this direction in the 21st century? So I say, we double our effort and our struggle against imperial white dominance, white supremacy. Let us be partners. Yeah. Let us speak against, things that are not convenient for us. When Donald Trump tells us like we come from S4 countries, we tell him no, we don't, and no, address it appropriately. Yeah. Let us continue to pursue the demand, because this can be met for the reparation of slavery. Let us demand for it. Okay, the slave trade and colonialism, all of those extraction of our juices, which left us dependent on other, with so much wealth. Let them try. If they want to call it socialism, so be it. But if you take from there, Don't you think it's fair enough for back? We hear coinages such as corporate responsibility. We can interpret as such. There is a critical point of history that we are going through again, and we need to wake up from our slumber and sleep, O ye Africans. Let us look at the works of human rights that comes from Haiti. That's another name for you to look out for. Brilliant author and lawyer, Zili Danto. Remember, Haiti has got a rich history in the Northern Hemisphere regarding subject matter, where freed slaves were taken to, and that's the only country that fought against white supremacy, white dominance, and colonialism, and the oppression. They fought against their masters and won their independence. Very rich history. But for that, they were never forgiven. So pressure has been put on them up to this day. And then that same old narrative that some of us are getting caught up in, as if we are lazy, we don't want to do anything. But behold, the ancients that were carved a long time ago are the oppressive tools that are being used, that you either bump and behave and do as we want through our programs that appear to be democratic, structural adjustment program, through their tools like the IMF, the ECN, World Bank, and the others. Or we will starve you. You will do as we say. It's the same mentality. The overseer in the plantation. They owe you. You will have to do. You don't have an independence of your own. How dare you? That's what we are seeing now. We will say that we've come up, which is true, but there are streams of this. So all we are doing, we're not asking for revenge. Of course, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for leverage. Let us be seen as partners. Treat us as equals. Opportunities for us. Remove the restrictions and see what happens. Give us equal opportunities in the world as it itself, in a token way. Okay? That is in Britain. When you go to North America, for example, that's the Americas, mainly in the US of America and Canada. The schools there, they teach global African presence. And there's these reparations that I've just spoken about. That act is still on. It's still on. It's still alive. Trust me. Social media doesn't play it, because there are many prominent Africans, black people that speak on this soil. It has to be done. There's also another excuse that I want to speak to, some of the companies that exist today, some of the individuals who are massively rich today. Some of us black people, regurgitate what they mean, what these people themselves see, that they've got nothing to do with 200 years ago, 300 years ago, and made these riches for themselves. This is simply not true, okay? We have to imagine where Wall Street is today, or what Wall Street is effective slave center, where they used to put us on top of bottle. Or that process in itself is what Wall Street is today, talking about stocks and bonds. It emanated from human beings. That's what it is. So what they're trying to say is like the millions and billions that were made out of it continue down the which families, names, companies that exist today derive their benefits out of the oppression of another people. And today they want to say, no, I've got nothing, I developed my company on my own. Yes, some did. The recent one, when you check the history of most of them, yes. Has to be paid. How will you free people, or so said at the time, promise them 40 euro, up till now they can't get it. You rewarded the people who held people as worked 24/7 around the clock, year long, without being paid. They were not rewarded, but those who perpetuated those offenses were rewarded. And you talk about fair play and the rest of it. How can we get fair play? So you have to live by opportunities that you need to afford us. Create these opportunities. Create them. Stop telling us that we are lazy. For after we came out of slavery, there was prosperity in black towns, in black cities. Tulsa was the most prominent of them all, equated to the black Bond Street. So what is today could be the Docklands, the financial center in the kingdom. Black people were prosperous businesses and what have you. Tulsa, Oklahoma was down. Those of you that don't know the history, go and check it up. I'm not going to go into it. It's available. So we've been lying. It's not like we just be laid back. But listen, just come together is important. I need to end this. I need to acknowledge, I thought my phone was ringing. I need to acknowledge some people quickly. Timothy, welcome to the program, my brother and friend. Ali Mans, welcome to the program. Sister Angela Aminata, sorry, Kamara, this name I can pronounce that. We got about 7 more minutes and then I'll finish. Somebody just tell me, let me see. You need to raise your volume, ladies and gentlemen. I need to raise your volume or your volumes, yeah? You need to raise your volumes. I don't know whether that is any better. Yeah. Team, we just joined and you do this now, team. Anyway, there's a saying better late than never. I'm just trying to bring this broadcast to an end. Okay? The man who creates the Negro History Week back in 26, he's got a classic book talking about Mr. Woodson, a very classic book. You remember the singer Lauryn Hill? You see, a mixture of everything here and there. Okay? But all of these things are kind of tied in together. The singer Lauryn Hill, she met a misfortune. If you go back, you will see why she met a misfortune. She was brought down because of tax evasion. She served time in prison. A brilliant black singer. She had an album titled The Miseducation of this book, where the Negro man that had or created Negro History Week back in 1926 was the inspiration behind the album title of Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got chance, please also buy that book. That book is very, very good. We'll begin to understand our history as it's told by ourselves and not by anyone else. We really need to boil down to the teaching of Black history without obscured or distorted. It's a must. Now I reference and recommend these books and these documentaries. Don't forget Tariq Nasheed. Yeah, I remember the last name now. Tariq Nasheed. He gets a documentary, very powerful documentary. While I don't know whether it's still #1, was #1 around the globe about we Black people. That's Hidden Colors from 1 to 5. Very, very brilliant documentary. Makes you proud. It pumps you up. If possible, show this to your kids. It's not dumb. It's not condescending. It's not patronizing. It's just the reality of what we are, where, and what we aspire to be. We say it kind of obscure and distorted. And when we talk this, ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. The late Makoya Gabi, his voice only is getting louder and louder every time we talk about our history. Okay? The late Marcus Garvey said, a people without knowledge, the knowledge of their past, a people without knowledge of their past, I'm quoting Marcus Garvey, is like a tree without its roots. A people without the knowledge of their past history, their origin, and their culture is like a tree without roots. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who lived in the 1940s, who taught the principles of Pan-Africanism, which is a strain of Black history. They'll never be far away. Black liberation theology could not have been far away from the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, this distribution of Black History Month as we celebrate here in the United Kingdom, and for our US audience, the Canadian audience, the Australian audience, I want to thank you very much for listening. Let us not forget the key facts that we need to do is like we need to come together as a people. That's exactly why I ended this program with a quotation from the late Marcus Mosiah Garvey, that a people without their past history, their origin and culture is like a tree without its root. He could not have been far away from the truth. On this basis, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring this broadcast to an end at this particular point in time. So please spread the word, share the video to family and friends. And we'll come to you again next week. And don't forget, the last Sunday of this month, we will be speaking to one of the most powerful women in Africa. There are 360 of them recognized by the United Nations. She's spoken at the UN, recognized by the US House of Congress. She's recognized by the British House of Commons. Recently, she was in the capital of Kosovo, I think it's Pristina, where she spoke, alongside top presidential officials in Kosovo. And to her, and this is none other than Dr. Justina Mutale, whose got close to her heart going. It's about the empowerment of women, specifically girls, their education and how they should achieve fully in life. It is also close because I've got a 13-year-old daughter and all my friends and family that have got daughters. So this will me. Another thing that's close to her is one thing that's bothering most Africans now is the invasion of the Chinese, how we should be about Chinese investment in Africa. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, finally, I want to say goodbye on off the channel Then and Now. Good night.
Nothing to